Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are going to decode something truly extraordinary. We're looking at the Jyotish Research Observatory's groundbreaking compendium, and what makes this so absolutely fascinating is that they aren't just giving us a list of personality traits. No, they are applying genius-level astrological rigor to a single native celestial blueprint. We are talking about a mathematical, multi-layered framework that totally redefines how we look at time, space, and human potential, with unmatched technical astrological precision.
Here's how we're going to break it all down today. First, the Grand Unified Theory. Second, medical and financial blueprints. Third, advanced technical chart calibration. Fourth, astrocartography and spatial perspectives. And finally, achieving total predictive sovereignty.
All right, Section 1, the Grand Unified Theory, synthesizing the cosmic hologram.
So let's dive right into this immense holographic blueprint. We begin at the macro level with the JRO's core premise, which is that the cosmos is a perfect holographic fractal. This isn't just a random mix of traditions, It's an advanced intersection of 12 distinct systems designed to achieve absolute predictive sovereignty. We're combining Vedic karma and dharma, Hellenistic fate, Uranian harmonic precision, and evolutionary soul purpose, all into one unified field theory. Because the truth is, the cosmos doesn't privilege one system over another. It actually expresses itself through all of them simultaneously. It's honestly a lot like quantum superposition.
As you'll see, the JRO extracts completely different dimensions of reality from the exact same celestial data. Think of the geocentric view, the chart calculated from Earth, as the vehicle you're currently driving. It represents your subjective earthly karma and your psychological conditioning. But when we shift to the heliocentric perspective, calculated from the sun, we strip away all that conditioning to reveal the driver's true destination, your soul's untethered purpose. It is literally the exact same astronomical data, just viewed from completely different cosmic coordinates.
Now, to actually build their Grand Unified Prediction formula, the JRO applies mathematically rigorous weights to these different methodologies. For example, a Vedic dasha measures karmic timing at a solid 20% weight, while Hellenistic for Daria sets the decisional life chapters at 10%. It's a brilliant algorithmic synthesis that leaves absolutely no room for guesswork. They are systematically quantifying exact event probabilities across multiple astrological languages.
But before we drill down into the highly technical practical applications, let's ground ourselves for a second with the really critical axiom from the JRO. The chart is not a map, it is a compass. I absolutely love this, because it reminds us that while the math is incredibly rigorous and the predictions are super precise, consciousness is still the ultimate variable. Just like in quantum mechanics, the observer affects the reality. The chart reveals the exact coordinates of your potential, but human will, that's what steers the ship.
Moving on to Section 2, Medical and Financial Blueprints, Fractal Manifestations of the Chart.
Let's look at how this applies in the medical dossier. Here, the native's midpoints universally point to a profound identity wound that has to be integrated. The Western Venus-Pluto midpoint dictates intense hormonal and endocrine volatility. And the Vedic chart, it perfectly mirrors this with a Vata-Pitta, so a wind and fire imbalance. But the evolutionary chart is what reveals the structural why. Chiron in Aquarius points to a soul-level fracture around physical embodiment. So to heal, this native actually must reclaim the physical body as a sacred vessel.
On the financial side of things, the JRO decodes the alchemy of wealth through this uncompromising 12-step methodology. They calculate the wealth logna, which is the specific soul path to prosperity isolated in the D9 divisional chart, and they measure Parivartana activations. For this specific native, that's a mutual exchange between Mars and Venus, directly fusing her daily labor to her capital. This mathematically proves that her wealth is entirely earned through discipline and service. There's no inherited wealth here. She has to work for it.
And all that rigorous 12-step analysis outputs a karmic wealth index of exactly 75.7%. Not 75, not 76, 75.7%. That is the level of micro-precision we are dealing with. It indicates immense financial potential, for sure, but with a major structural caveat, a Saturn-mandated delay. The native literally has to pay their karmic debt and build a solid foundation first, meaning the true financial activation doesn't unlock until a very specific threshold of maturity is reached.
So by tracking the 20-year Jupiter-Saturn conjunction cycles across the temporal matrix, we can see exactly when those delays transition into scalable legacy. The 2028 breakthrough phase, that's really just the catalyst. The true mastery phase hits between 2034 and 2036, which perfectly aligns with the structural consolidation of the native Saturn return. That is exactly when all that discipline finally pays off and consolidates into real, tangible material structure.
Next up, Section 3, Advanced Technical Chart Calibration, Achieving Genius Rigor.
Okay, so to absolutely trust these medical and financial timelines, we have to validate the base data. In advanced predictive astrology, if a birth time is off by just 4 minutes, the angles shift by a full degree, and your predictions can be off by an entire year. So by cross-referencing solar and lunar arc diagnostics against past life events, the JRO established a 95% rectification confidence score. They confirmed the recorded 9:53 a.m. birth time to the exact minute. The data is rock solid. With the birth time officially locked in, they apply what they call celestial interpolation. The JARA goes way beyond standard aspects by applying decanic, weighting, and dichotomy analysis. They use harmonic resonance, literally multiplying planetary longitudes to uncover hidden geometric aspects to evaluate the exact invisible tensions driving the native structural drama. It essentially extracts surgical, micro-level data right out of the baseline chart.
And this leads us to Uranian dial charts, which act a lot like cosmic pressure cookers. By mathematically compressing the standard 360-degree zodiac down into a 90-degree or 135-degree dial, they literally force hidden karmic nodes to the surface. It completely exposes these intense, pressurized evolutionary turning points in core life themes that require massive exertion, themes that are, frankly, entirely invisible in a standard wheel chart.
Section 4. Astrocartography and Spatial Perspectives, the Geodetic Blueprint.
Now, time is only half the equation, right? Being at the right time means absolutely nothing if you aren't in the right place. The geodetic arc projection takes a 2D natal chart and stretches it over the 3D globe. This framework proves that your astrological chart is a navigable map, allowing you to identify your optimal planetary locations on Earth with surgical precision. Let's look at a concrete example. When applying this spatial matrix to New York for this specific native, the data outputs an overwhelming 92% probability for a massive career breakthrough. Now, what's incredible about this is that the spatial activation aligns perfectly with the native's 2028 temporal breakthrough we saw earlier. The spatial where mathematically validates the temporal when. It's all connected. Finally, Section 5, Achieving Total Predictive Sovereignty, the Oracle's Chronometer. So how do we bring all this together? We synthesize this medical, financial, spatial, and technical data into the Predictive Sovereignty Quotient, or PSQ. This is a remarkably demanding statistical score. To declare an event a mathematical certainty, the JRO actually requires a 90% or higher rating across multiple independent converging systems. In any forecasting model, let alone astrology, a 90% threshold is an incredibly staggering bar to clear. By layering Vedic dashas over Western transits and harmonic resonance, the Oracle's chronometer isolates the exact temporal windows where the native's karmic destiny becomes undeniable. For instance, a 91% PSQ for deep psychological transformation in 2039, that isn't a guess. It is driven by a Rahu-Jupiter period overlapping precisely with Pluto conjunct the Moon. The convergence of these completely independent systems is what makes the prediction absolutely sovereign.
Now, you might be thinking, this level of extreme precision naturally raises a controversial question among advanced practitioners. Astrology has a lot of different house systems, right? Placidus, whole sign, Koch. So can you actually forecast specific life events using any of them with equal accuracy?
Well, the JRO's astrological singularity resolves this debate brilliantly. It proves that house systems aren't competing maps. They're actually just different bandwidths of a single quantum projection. Think of it like this. You use the spatial quadrant system of Placidus to measure physical health, but you'd tune into the temporal geometry of whole sign to measure wealth. Every single system holds a valid frequency of one ultimate reality.
We'll leave you with this ultimate truth. Your chart is not a predetermined cage, it is a matrix of coordinates. The JRO's Genius Level framework proves that every fractal of your chart contains the entirety of the cosmos. So, having mapped the exact coordinates of your potential across time and space, the only question left for you is, now that you have the compass, what reality will you choose to activate next?